Wait until you see what this cat does. Don't blink, because you'll miss the most incredible act of intelligence you've ever witnessed from an animal. The house on Maple Street looked like every other house on the block. White shutters, a maple tree in the front yard, a mailbox with fading numbers. But inside that house, something extraordinary was watching, waiting, calculating. His name was Orion, a sleek black cat with eyes like polished amber. Most people thought he was just a pet. Emily Chen, his owner, loved him the way you'd love any cat. She fed him, scratched behind his ears, laughed when he knocked things off the counter. But she didn't really see him, not the way he saw everything. Not yet. It started on a Tuesday morning in October. Emily was rushing around the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear, coffee growing cold on the counter. She was a nurse at County General, working double shifts to keep up with rent after her divorce. Orion sat on the windowsill, tail twitching, eyes tracking something most humans would never notice, the way the neighbor's car had been parked across the street for 3 days now. The same man inside, pretending to read a newspaper. The way his eyes followed Emily every time she left for work. Orion's ears flattened, a low rumble built in his chest. "What's wrong, buddy?" Emily glanced over, distracted. "You see a bird." But Orion wasn't looking at birds. He was looking at danger. And what he did next would change everything. That night, Emily came home exhausted. She kicked off her shoes, heated up leftover Chinese food, and collapsed on the couch. Orion jumped up beside her, pressing against her leg with unusual intensity. "You're being clingy tonight," she murmured, running her fingers through his fur. But when she tried to turn on the TV, Orion did something he'd never done before. He batted the remote out of her hand and meowed. Not a normal meow. A sharp, urgent cry that made her stomach tighten. "Orion, what?" He jumped down and ran to the front door, then back to her, then to the door again. The universal signal for "follow me." But Emily was tired, and cats were weird sometimes, right? She turned back to the TV. Orion's claws suddenly dug into her arm, not enough to hurt, but enough to demand attention. His pupils were blown wide, and he was staring at her with an intensity that sent chills down her spine. In that moment, he didn't look like a pet. He looked like something ancient and knowing. Okay, she whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "What is it?" She followed him to the front window. He leaped onto the sill and tapped the glass with his paw, once, twice, 3 times, always at the same spot. Across the street, barely visible in the darkness, that car was still there. And now she could see it, the faint glow of a cigarette, someone waiting, watching. Emily's blood ran cold. But that was only the beginning of what Orion knew. She called the police. They drove by, talked to the man. He claimed he was waiting for a friend, and told Emily there was nothing they could do unless he trespassed. "Lock your doors," the officer said. "You're probably overreacting." But Orion wasn't overreacting. For the next 3 nights, he refused to sleep. He positioned himself at different windows throughout the house, taking turns watching every angle. Emily would wake at 3 a.m. to find him sitting perfectly still in the dark, ears forward, eyes reflecting the moonlight like 2 golden coins. On the 4th night, Emily woke to silence, the kind of silence that feels wrong. She reached for Orion, but he wasn't on the bed. Her heart began to hammer. Then she heard it, a soft asterisk click from downstairs, the sound of a lock being picked. Terror seized her. She grabbed her phone, hands shaking, but before she could dial 911, Orion appeared in the doorway. And in his mouth, impossibly, he was carrying something, her car keys. He dropped them at her feet, then ran to her closet. He disappeared inside and emerged dragging her running shoes, one at a time, grunting with effort. Then he went to her dresser and pawed at the drawer where she kept her wallet. Emily's mind was racing. He wants me to leave. He's telling me to run. A floorboard creaked downstairs. And that's when she realized her cat was smarter than everyone, including her. She didn't question it. She grabbed her keys, her phone, her wallet, and slipped on her shoes. Orion was already at the bedroom door, low to the ground, tail twitching. He looked back once, stay close, and then crept into the hallway. The house was dark. Every shadow seemed alive. Emily could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. Orion moved like liquid darkness itself, completely silent, leading her away from the stairs, where the intruder was, and toward the back hallway, toward the window that led to the fire escape. But the window was stuck. Emily pushed, panic rising, and it wouldn't budge. The old wood had swollen. She was trapped. Below she heard footsteps, slow, methodical searching. Orion leaped onto the windowsill and did something that seemed impossible. He positioned his body against the frame and pushed, his back legs braced against the wall, every muscle straining. As if he understood physics, as if he understood leverage. The window groaned, shifted, opened just enough. Emily squeezed through and Orion followed in one fluid motion. They descended the fire escape in silence, Emily's hands trembling so badly she nearly slipped twice. When they reached the ground, Orion bolted for the neighbor's yard, not randomly, but with purpose, leading her to old Mrs. Patterson's back door. He scratched once, twice. A light flickered on. But the real twist was still coming. Mrs. Patterson called the police. This time they found the man inside Emily's house. He was carrying duct tape, rope, and a knife. He was a stalker who had been watching her for weeks, planning, waiting for the perfect moment. The detective who took Emily's statement couldn't stop staring at Orion, who sat on her lap, purring softly now. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "I've been doing this 20 years. That cat saved your life." He knew. Somehow he knew. Emily's hands were still shaking. But how? How did he know what to do? The detective shook his head. "Animals. Sometimes they just know things we don't. My grandfather used to say cats can see in more dimensions than we can. I always thought it was superstition." He paused. "I'm not so sure anymore." But the real answer came 2 days later, when Emily was cleaning out her filing cabinet, trying to distract herself from the trauma. She found an old envelope she'd forgotten about, from the animal shelter where she'd adopted Orion 5 years ago. Inside was a note she'd never read. "Orion, formerly K9 companion cat, Project Sentinel. Trained alongside police and military working dogs for threat detection and emergency response. Program discontinued. Cat shows exceptional intelligence and protective instincts. Recommended for experienced handler only. Remains highly alert to danger." Emily's hands went slack. Orion hadn't just been smart. He'd been trained. He was a working cat, the only one of his kind. And somehow in her darkest moment, all that training had come flooding back. The cat everyone thought was just a pet had been a guardian all along. Emily knelt down and looked into those amber eyes, really looked maybe for the first time. "You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you?" she whispered. "You weren't just lucky. You were watching over me all this time." Orion slow blinked, the cat equivalent of "I love you." And in that moment, Emily understood something profound. We share our lives with creatures we barely understand, whose intelligence and devotion run deeper than we ever imagine. Orion hadn't saved her by accident. He'd been reading the danger, planning, waiting for the right moment to act, all while she thought he was just napping in sunbeams and chasing toy mice. She'd been living with a hero and never knew it. That cat proved he was smarter than everyone that night, smarter than the stalker who underestimated him, smarter than the police who dismissed the threat, smarter than even Emily, who thought she was protecting him when all along, he was protecting her. Sometimes the smallest, quietest creatures are the bravest. Sometimes the ones we overlook are the ones who see everything. And sometimes, love and loyalty wear fur and have 4 paws and eyes that glow like firelight in the dark. If this story gave you chills, hit that like button. Share it with everyone who's ever underestimated what a cat, or any animal is truly capable of. And subscribe because the world is full of incredible stories just like this one, waiting to be told. Orion is still watching over Emily, still sitting at windows, still seeing what others miss. And maybe, just maybe, your pet is doing the same thing.